Welcome to the Ultimate Enlisted Sniper Guide. My name is Bob, and I'm going to teach you how to play the sniper. In my hands I have a massive M14 DMR, and I wish Gaijin would add this to the game if we ever go modern. Like the video if you would like Enlisted to go modern. Mastering the art of sniping can turn the tide of a battle, allowing you to eliminate tons of enemies and control key points on the battlefield. This guide will walk you through the tips, the tactics, and the strategies to help you become a more lethal sniper in Enlisted. My gun is too big for this tiny camera, so yeah, we're gonna have to do with this. There are many rifles in Enlisted. We have both bolt actions, semi-automatics, and automatic rifles at the higher BRs. But at low BR, which is where we're going to start off here, we have mostly bolt action rifles. Your Kar98s, your Mosin Nagants, Enfields, Springfields, all the stuff, and even the Japanese Arisakas. Let's start with Germany here, and Germany get quite a few different rifles. We have the Carcanos, the Italian rifles, and then we have the German ones. And let me start off with the Kar98. The Kar98 has a once you max upgrade it, I have taken the damage numbers of all max upgraded weapons, keep that in mind. The Kar98 does 24, you need 10 for a kill, and the damage drop off is not that bad. Most bolt action snipers in this game will net you a one shot if you hit center mass. But yeah, the Kar98, it's a solid rifle, I'm not going to talk too much about it. The true stars of the German low BR family is the Gewehr 98 with an astounding 28 hit power, which is one of the highest in the game, if I do remember correctly. Yeah, 28 hit power is gonna net you one shots pretty much all over the map, and it's a great long-range sniper to have as a secondary if you are running something like a Gewehr 43 as your primary, right? Having a DMR and a long-range bolt action. Now, next up is the Carcano. This is the quickscope sniper in Enlisted, if you ask me. This thing has 6 rounds in the mag. It is a carbine. It's not very big and clunky. It has a very nice tiny scope, and it's overall just a very fun rifle. It has 25 damage once you max upgrade it, so it's actually slightly better than the Kar98. And I would advise you guys to use this. It's a super fun, aggressive sniper, and to succeed in the game as a sniper, you do need to be a little bit aggressive. We will get into that later. Now, moving on from the Germans, we're going to go to the Allies. And the Allies have two very simple rifles. There's the 2 Springfields you get access to. Later on, we get access to one of the best bolt actions, but it's a higher BR gun. The 2 Springfields are pretty simple. There's the one with the big long scope you see from Saving Private Ryan that I think his name is Jackson, the sniper uses, and the other one is a Marine Scout Sniper scope. It's much smaller, and I prefer this one overall. They have the same hit power of 25.4, which is definitely not bad. Moving on to the Japanese, we get 2 very boring rifles, and overall the Japanese sniper tree is not very interesting. They don't have semi-autos, but they do have a special little weapon that we're going to showcase, don't worry. But they have the Arisakas, the Type 99 and the Type 97. Very standard rifles. The Type 99, which is the later unlock, you get it at BR2, I believe, or BR3, is the better one. It has higher damage, but really, they're just standard fine rifles. I do enjoy using them, and they can be useful to have. Finally, we have the Soviets with the Mosin Nagant, and this one is pretty powerful. It has a 27 hit power, 27.3 to be exact, and it is quite a good rifle. It's got quite slow handling compared to some of the other ones, but you get the high damage, and with the sniper scope, the PU scope, it's quite nice. And yeah, again, high damage you get with the Mosin. Very nice, but it's a little bit slow. Now, moving on to high BR rifles, and this is where snipers begin to differ quite a bit in each faction. So again, starting with the Germans, and we see some absolutely insane weapons. We have the Gewehr 43, which has 15 hit power, which is quite nice, 10 rounds in the mag, and it's got decent shot deviation. But I will say this, if it was me, I would save and wait for the STG and the FG42 sniper variants. So let's look at those. We have the FG42. You guys know this thing, it's a monster, high fire rate, high damage, good magazine. It's pretty easy to handle as well, low recoil, and they buffed it recently as well. With a pretty high damage, 14.4, which means you can get one shots and downs. It's pretty powerful and can take out whole squads easily. You also get full auto fire, bipod, and a 4x scope, which is quite nice. Now, probably to the most overpowered sniper weapon in the game, the Sturmgewehr 44, the STG. This thing is equipped with a 4x scope, and it has high fire rate, 30 rounds. It shoots I think it's a 5.3 Kurtz. Pretty big round, but you know, easy to control, no recoil. It does 9.6 hit power, which is nice. And this thing, in conjunction with an FG42, is probably the best sniper squad you can get. You have assault rifle plus a DMR. There's also the MKB42. Now, what I do is actually equip one of my snipers with an MKB instead of an STG, because it has a 2x scope instead of a 4x, which means you can really do some better jobs in close quarters combat most of the time. So I like having one at least. That's the trade-off. The STG is better off at longer ranges because it's got a better scope, but the MKB is better at close range, pretty much. Now, coming up to high BR allied equipment, we get two very, very nice and iconic rifles. We have the sniper variant, the M1C of the M1 Garand, with the iconic ping, offset sight, and yeah, just a really nice rifle overall. This thing does 16.1 damage. The only downside is a pretty low magazine capacity. 8 shots is what you get. But overall, it's just a solid rifle. The next one up here is probably the most goated sniper in the entire game. If you want to say quintessential bolt action, the Enfield Mk04 T is a solid rifle. 10 rounds in the magazine, 25.4 damage. Max upgraded, and I run this with an M1C, so we run the Enfield as a secondary and the Garand as our primary, and this is by far my favorite way to play a sniper in this game. Now we get to the Soviets. We have the SVT-38 and the 40 at the mid BRs, where the SVT-40 does a little bit more damage than the SVT-38, but overall very similar rifles. 10 rounds in the magazine, good scope. It's actually good for close quarters combat, believe it or not. Nice hip fire and control. And we get to the crown jewel, which is the AVS-36. This thing is pretty decent, man. You have full auto, you 15 shots in the mag. I like the scope and the magnification. It's kind of mid-range. It's good for close quarters. You can clear rooms with this because, again, you have full auto. And it does good damage, 15 damage I have written down here. So, very nice rifle overall. I run Soviets with backpacks instead of a secondary because I like just having more ammo with my Soviet snipers. Now for Japan high BR snipers, we don't really have much. We have the 2 bolt actions I showed you, but there is another way. The Type 97, which you actually unlock very early on, it's not a high BR gun, but it is absolutely broken, is an LMG with a 20 round mag, bipod, and a massive telescope that lets you use this as a sniper. I've gone on a 58 kill streak alone with this thing. You can line up in the perfect position where you can overlook a, enemy pathway to the cap, and you can decimate people. I advise you to use this gun in a sniper squad. It is going to be fun, or in an LMG squad. Trust me, you'll love this. Just remember to have an engineer that you can build ammo boxes with. Scopes and bayonets can actually be very beneficial because the more stuff you adds more weight, and that decreases recoil in Enlisted, so keep that in mind. And a sidearm is very important. If you can find, event or premium sidearms that are automatic, this is going to be super helpful. I try to run that if I can. Otherwise, a semi-automatic is just fine. Also, axes and swords is really good to have, as well as flasks so you can replenish your stamina while trying to reposition. Choose perks that enhance your stamina and weapon sway, as well as reload. And one thing that people really don't think about is jump height. Jump height is a really good perk for snipers, letting you get into advantageous positions. Recoil reduction is also important if you're running high BR snipers, like FG42s, STGs, and AVSs. You want to have recoil reduction to help minimize that recoil. Squad composition is also important. You should always, guys, trust me. I mean, this is gonna haunt you if you don't. Have an engineer in your squad. In either squad, doesn't matter, but especially sniper squads, because you can build snipers' nests using sandbags. You can build ammo boxes if you run out. If you've killed so many enemies that you literally don't have bullets, you can build an ammo box. As well as having an LMG guy and an anti-tank gunner, either one of those is going to be really nice to have. Because the LMG can set up with a bipod and you can pretty much just use him as a mowing tool, I guess you can call it. Having high ground advantage is one of the obvious best things for a sniper. Towers, hills, buildings that have multiple stories are really good, and they provide sometimes only one entry and exit, which is very advantageous. You can place mines and you can make barbed wire that makes it hard for people to get in. But it's not always smart to camp. If you're attacking, that doesn't really make sense. Setting up in a position that is close to the cap where you can see the enemies rushing to the point. So you have to play around the cap, especially when you're attacking. So what I like to do is sit behind the enemy's, front line towards the point and pick them off as they're running towards the cap. This creates a gap for our team to push, and they can actually, get in there with our guys, taking it over slowly but surely. This is the most powerful thing a sniper can do, is picking off enemies as they run to the cap. This just wastes their time, and it is actually hilariously easy to do so, because bots don't really notice you past 100, 200 meters. So you can pretty much just pick people off as they run towards you. It's very fun and easy, trust me. Obviously, using cover and concealment is your main goal. That's why you have that engineer. If you don't have cover and concealment, you can build some. Just keep in mind, it makes you very easy to spot. Making sure you have a uniform that is somewhat camouflaged in all maps, like a green one, for example, with the Allies, or the Flecktarn pattern that the Germans have, is going to be really nice because it blends in with dirt and leaves pretty well, meaning you can sit under trees and hide away. The last thing is rotating positions. Let's say you're in a house. If you've been sitting in the right window the whole time, when you've shot 3 or 4 dudes, you should move to another window, making it harder for the enemy to spot you. Always put your squad in a position where they can't get shot, because you want to be able to cycle through your squad members if you get picked off by another guy. So don't put them in the windows, don't let them attack by themselves. They're going to get destroyed, and that's going to suck. If you lose your engineer, you can't build an ammo box. So, target prioritization is pretty important. You should focus on tank commanders, because sometimes, especially if you're in that advantageous position behind enemy front lines and looking at them rushing to the cap, you can sometimes see the tanks as they spawn. And most tank commanders will be out of their hatches, and you should be able to pick them off as they drive away. Obviously, it's hard. Moving targets are difficult, and it's a tiny speck you have to hit. But it is the funniest thing seeing a tank commander not understand what happened, stop all of a sudden as his commander dies, and get out, and then you can even pick off some more. You can kill the whole tank if you kill his crew outright. I've done that multiple times. But also taking out machine gunners, AA gunners, anti-tank gunners is really viable. And that is pretty much your main job as a sniper as well. You have to be taking out those key targets if you can. Another very important thing is spotting for your team. So even if you can't kill a target, let's say you spot a tank very far away, mark it for your team. Maybe you have an aircraft or they have a tank that can take him out. If you can't do it, at least spot them or make your team aware of it. Mastering the shot is a really important skill, of course, of a sniper. You have to be precise and be able to lead targets, take out targets on the move, and so on. But a very good idea if you're trying to do long range stuff is to hold down your fire button. So once you take a shot, fire, and then you don't lift it up, because if you do that, he'll look out of his scope. And then this way you can actually see your shot as it travels downrange. Now, Enlisted has pretty realistic bullet travel time, and I would just say practice leading targets. Go for those ambitious shots. If you see a guy moving way out far in the distance, just try to take a shot at him. See where your shot goes and figure out where that perfect sweet spot is for hitting somebody. Now, mastering this shot is a very difficult thing, and it takes time. Most of this stuff, especially with FPS shooters, just takes time. But if you want to get some key takeaways from, for example, leading a target, there's 2 ways of going about it. You can either lead the target with the crosshair and follow and compensate for your target moving, or you can hold in a trap position and wait for them to come into your line of sight. And as they approach, you pull the trigger. I find the easiest way is to just alternate between the 2 of them concerning the target. If it's a target that is moving from right to left really fast, I would use the trap method. But if it is somebody who's moving kind of towards me, I would use the lead method. But yeah, leading targets is super important. And there is bullet drop in Enlisted. So if you're trying to take out a long target, you have to account for that as well. But obviously, holding your breath and getting perks that allow you to hold your breath for longer is going to be a key advantage to have. So yeah, use that, hold your breath, and that's why you want a lot of stamina. Now, there are some common mistakes you should avoid as a sniper, and one of them is overexposure. If you are peeking from the same window over and over again, enemies will notice, so vary your spots you're peeking from. And another thing is tunnel vision. If you sit down with your eyes on the scope the whole time, you won't know what's going on around you, and a paratrooper squad or a tank could be looking right down your window, but because you're looking over at Johnny over there at the B cap, well, you're gonna die in 3 seconds from an HE shell. One last thing is the overuse of shots. If you're continuously shooting in the direction of the enemy but you're not hitting anything, they will notice and they will fire back. Especially bots, if you're in a certain range, within a certain distance, they will fire back and instantly spot you. So make sure that when you're shooting at somebody, you're gonna hit them. Missing 1 or 2 or 3 times is fine, but you should definitely get the shot then. If not, look away, hide behind cover, and then peek out again, because the bots will forget about you. Now, there are some advanced tactics here, guys, and these things are pretty good. Let me just say, pretty nice. The first one is paratroopers. Now, paratroopers can choose to pick up a sniper setup from their crate. And if we take the American Screaming Eagles, the Mohawk guys with the Thompsons, they get an M1C, the Garand. So that means they can plop down on, for example, a silo on Steel Mill, and a place that nobody can get to except paratroopers, and they can sit up there with a crate of ammo and a sniper with, you know, semi-automatic capabilities, and rain down hell on people from above. It's super fun. The next strategy is the motorcycle gang. This is one of my personal favorites, especially with the Germans. Equip your sniper with an SGG, an FG42, and then take a motorcycle squad with an engineer and an anti-tank gunner. And just go flanking and set up a nasty position. You can do some crazy damage with this, and I love doing that. It's one of my favorite all-time strategies. One thing that is super important, guys, is practice makes perfect. Practice is what makes you good at sniping, and practicing taking shots at long-range targets, it's just something you're gonna have to try. But one thing you have to keep in mind in this game is you have to play the objective. This is the final thing I want to say. The objective is all that matters in Enlisted, and just like a pilot can't be in his plane the whole time, you have to play ground troops sometimes. A sniper can't sit in camp forever. If your team is struggling to get, you know, the point, you should not be wasting your time in a camping position. If I'm seeing that my team is able to defend the point in invasion or attack, or you know, I see a momentum, I feel fine sitting back. But if I notice that my team is actually struggling, I will push up with them and try to snipe at close range. Keep in mind, guys, no scoping is just intuition. There is no randomness in no scoping. You can just randomly plop people without aiming down your sights. And scoping fast in this game is pretty easy as well. Along with that, you can just equip a bolt action or even the M1C, I think, without a scope, or the Gewehr or the FG42 or the STG without scope, and have a normal secondary that you can rely on, as well as your scoped gun. So there are many ways to play the sniper in Enlisted. I hope you learned something in this video. I intend on making a guide for every class in the game, and I hope you guys want to see more of that. So let me know what you think about snipers, what your favorite faction is for them. Mine is, it's hard. It's either Allies or Germany. Allies are epic because they have a really nice bolt-action rifle, and Germany is epic because they have the most aggressive and outrageous sniper setup. So yeah, let me know. Like the video, subscribe if you're new. My name is Bob, and you can expect much more content from me. I have another channel if you're interested in geopolitics, because the world is going crazy right now, and yeah, it's linked down below if you want to check it out. Anyways, my name has been Bob, aka Pavloon, and yeah, I'm signing out. See you later, goobers.